Keeping your business healthy in today's marketplace can be a challenging and overwhelming task. From the threat of litigation inside and outside your organization and the inefficiencies that can rob your bottom line as a result of unproven marketing programs, the deck can be stacked against you. To get ahead of these challenges and stay ahead of your competition, the Bottled Business Sense Show provides practical business solutions that uniquely emphasize key legal principles, management techniques, and marketing strategies to protect and ensure the longevity of your business. You'll learn how to implement marketing and protection principles equal to those used by today's most successful corporations. Join your host, Bill Bernard, Rick Moscoso, and Steve Smith for some high-energy discussion that will inspire you to take control of your business so it can prosper in today's consistently challenging business environment.
Good morning, everyone. This is the Bottled Business Sense Show. I'm Rick Moscoso, one of your co-hosts. Today is Tuesday at 10 a.m. at our regular scheduled time. Welcome to all our returning viewers out there and to our new viewers of the show. Welcome as well. We are a simulcast show basically that offers free information in regards to how to protect your business and also how to market your business wisely. And we have produced quite a number of shows that you can always go back to look at on our website here at bottledbusinessandshow.com. We're a wealth of information. We love to provide free value to our viewers and listeners out there, and we do that from a marketing standpoint as well as a legal standpoint. And as we talk about legal topics, we do have an expert here on the show, and that is my co-host today, Mr. Bill Bernard. How are you doing today, Bill?
I'm doing just fine, Rick. I've got my psychedelic shades on, not shades, but glasses here. I had forgot my regular readers, so I actually have glasses that match my shirt. How do you like that? I'm color coordinated here today. But no, it's great to be here today with everyone, and we're going to push forward and make sure everybody has what they need to run their business intelligently and safely and prosperously, and that's what we do every week. We're all over the place on Twitter and LinkedIn and Google Plus and on a bottledbusinesssenseshow.com. We have Bottled Business Sense newsletter. We're out there providing information for free that we hope people will take advantage of in order to help small business owners make sure they have a say in the economy. Let's put it that way, and hopefully that's a prosperous say. So it's a bright sunny day out there, but we're here in the studio once again to talk about something I think of interest today, Rick. You know, we haven't really touched on this in all of the past shows that we've done, and today our show is called Small Businesses in Chapter 7. Because even though we wish prosperity for all and protection for all, sometimes there comes a time when a business owner has to make a decision and they're kind of confused as to exactly what do I do and how do I do it, and that really depends upon what kind of business that you operate. Have you taken our advice in the past and established an entity, or are you a solopreneur? And before we proceed any further, the way to really, I think, approach this is to give people an understanding, a basic general understanding of the difference between Chapter 7 and Chapter 11.
Yeah, that's always a confusing topic. I know in the past I've been confused on that as well, and this is great because these are, for the show, this is uncharted grounds because we have not talked about this before, and I'm really looking forward to your insight on this.
Well, it's kind of, it's ironic that you said that you're kind of confused. It's kind of good to be confused because that means you haven't had to do it. You haven't had to get into it and understand it. But in essence, Chapter 7 is basically referred to as liquidation bankruptcy. You're past the stage of reorganizing whatever's occurring to you, and now you have to sell off your assets to pay your creditors. Chapter 11 is rehabilitation bankruptcy, and that requires a trustee to come in and try to reorganize your debts by contacting your creditors and restructuring the terms of the debts that you owe loans, that sort of stuff. So you can pay it back over time. If you don't end up paying it back over a certain period of time, then you go into Chapter 7. But we're going to discuss Chapter 7 today because that's what's applicable to business owners. The first question you have to ask is, are you personally liable for your business debts? Well, we've talked a long time about business debts and business structures. But I think what you really need to understand is that if you're a sole proprietor, you're going to have to file a personal bankruptcy. And that's not what we're talking about here, what we hope to be talking about. Because if you don't if you don't form a business entity and you're a solopreneur, a sole proprietor, then you have no option but to file a personal bankruptcy. And when you file that personal bankruptcy, your personal assets are going to be used to pay off your debts. Okay? Same thing with a general partnership. So we have to then ask, how does Chapter 7 really come into play if you're not a solopreneur? And that, again, depends on the business you have. So let's take a LLC or a S corporation. If you're establishing a business entity there, well, then consequently, you have some options. What you should know first of all is that in a LLC or an S corporation, you're going to basically be saying, hey, I can't pay my creditors, my trustee needs to come in, liquidate all my assets and sell them, and pay off these creditors. If there aren't enough creditors to go around, if there's not enough assets to go around to pay the creditors, then you have an issue that the trustee's going to have to deal with. So let's talk about go back to the partnership for a second. If there aren't enough assets to pay off the creditors, you go into the personal assets. And why did I say earlier that a partnership was much like a solopreneur where you have to have your personal assets pay it off? Because in a general partnership, you may have business assets as you may when you're a solopreneur. But those could be extinguished, quite rapidly, and then personal assets are going to be reached. Whereas if you're an LLC or an S corporation, you're not going to reach those personal assets because the burden of selling the assets and paying the creditors is on the trustee, and that trustee is going to have to pay that with the business-owned assets only. Why? Because when you structure a business like an LLC or an S corporation, you're protecting your personal assets, right? Think of it this way. You're a solopreneur or you're a general partnership. You have no business structure. When somebody comes after you, where's the structure that's going to provide you that protective dome? Remember when I said that when we establish a business entity, our personal assets are not reached unless you sign a personal guarantee contract? Well, you don't have a business entity if you're a general partnership, and you don't have a business entity if you're a solopreneur. So all that can be reached by creditors are personal assets. LLC, S corporation, you're confined to the business assets.
Yeah. So what happens if somebody has to go through the situation and you are enticized, right? Like you always recommend. You have that dome over your business, and what happens when there's not enough assets to fulfill the creditors?
Well, then the trustee steps in and pays the creditors, usually in terms of what creditor came first. The trustee and the bankruptcy court will work towards a goal of making sure that all creditors are satisfied. That may not always happen. And I want to be the first to say that I don't typically provide a lot of bankruptcy instructions to anybody, any clients. Bankruptcy is highly specialized, so I'm going to say right up front that I don't know all of the specific intricacies of how the bankruptcy action works once you get into bankruptcy court. My purpose here is to help our business owners understand how Chapter 7 works generally for them if they have to file it.
Yeah.
But in answer to your question, as best I can answer it, Rick, is that the trustee in the bankruptcy court typically is going to take into consideration who the claimant is, who the creditor is, and where he stands in the line of succession. In other words, whose claim is the oldest. Let's see if we can restructure some of the claims so other creditors can get part of what they're going to be paid off. It doesn't necessarily mean by any long shot, doesn't necessarily mean, by any stretch of the imagination that all of the creditors are going to be paid everything they're owed.
Yeah, right. Well, hopefully, folks, to our listeners out there, you've taken heed of Bill's information over the last couple of years, or at least over the last 100 shows, and you won't find yourself in this situation. But should you do, Bill does have contact information that with folks that do specialize in this area that he's vetted over the years, and so if you need that sort of help, which we hope you don't, reach out to Bill.
Well, you can reach out to me, and I'll be the first to tell you generally what you need to do, and then I'd send you to a bankruptcy lawyer, so you'd get expert representation, because that's what you deserve, and that's what I'd want my client to have. Remember, interestingly enough, going back to the partnership, the general partnership, when you have a bankruptcy, you're going to have a trustee appointed to oversee the bankruptcy. The trustee actually has the power to sue the general partners for their personal assets if the business assets aren't there to pay off these creditors. So that's another advantage of having a business entity. Your bankruptcy trustee has enough power to proceed against you in your general partnership in order to reach your personal assets and pay off creditors. So remember that when we talk about business structuring and business entities, we're not just talking about protection to help you run your business and get through on a daily, weekly, monthly, and yearly basis, but we're looking at the long term. Think of it this way. Yeah, bankruptcy is the last place we want business owners to be. But if they have to be there, then certainly having a business entity helps you even in that situation, as it does when you are operating your business and you're prosperous.
Yeah.
That entity prevents the personal assets from being gotten to by the trustee and satisfying creditors. That's not going to happen if you're a general partner or a solopreneur.
I see. So I have an off-topic question here, and I've always been curious of this. So if you are enterprised, your business is enterprised, you are protected, and you do have to go through a bankruptcy situation, how does that affect your personal credit?
Well, that's a very good question, and I'm glad you asked it, Rick. Your personal credit will typically not be affected if your business goes bankrupt. That is to say, if you have an entity and that goes bankrupt. If you're going bankrupt as a solopreneur, well, the answer is obvious. You're going to have to file a bankruptcy as yourself because you don't have a business entity. Mm-hmm. If you're a general partnership, you're typically going to have to be you're going to be affected because, as I just said, the trustee can go after you personally for assets to satisfy creditors. So that is, again, another very important point, and Rick's asking the right questions here today. You are going to have that added protection of having your credit protected if you're going to file a bankruptcy by way of your entity business. So remember, that entity protects you in case you have to file bankruptcy by protecting access to your personal assets. It protects you if you have to file bankruptcy in terms of not having your personal credit destroyed. So you see this whole thing behind emphasizing is the protection of what? Personal assets, personal credit. Okay? And again,
I just like hearing you say emphasize.
Well, it's okay. It is kind of a coined phrase. We want to. I want to be the first one to say that I have never looked it up and don't suspect it's a word. But
that is a Billism for sure.
It's a Billism, yeah. And we really want people to understand, have something stick in their mind, and I think that hopefully will do it. Because, this is such simple stuff to do. You just put your mind to it. If you're going to concentrate on running a business and put your whole heart and soul into your business, why not get a business entity? Why not take the extra step to make sure it's secure by making sure you don't let the veil of the business be pierced? And why not go ahead and buy yourself some liability insurance to also protect those business assets? That, to me, is a no-brainer. But again, we don't always have people operating on the same cylinders. The people are different, especially when you get into situations where you put trust ahead of your business common sense. There have been many people in this world who have trusted each other and who end up making business decisions that affect each other greatly. I mean, even the Beatles got in a lawsuit many years ago, right? When they broke up. So. Think of it that way. We don't want you to go to the bankruptcy arena, but if you have to, it's better to do that with a business entity as opposed to, a non-business entity. And remember, when you file typically today, when you file a chapter, a bankruptcy, I should say, and you're a solopreneur, you're an individual, the court's not going to let you go right to Chapter 7. And dissolve all your debts. They're going to put you in a Chapter 11 and force you to restructure first. They're going to say, wait a minute, you're not getting off that easy. Let's see if we can restructure this, put you on a payment plan to pay off these creditors. And then if that doesn't work, you could possibly go into a Chapter 7, which gets rid of your debts, takes what you have. Of course, by then, if you're a solopreneur, you're good chance you could be broke.
Yeah.
So it's a disastrous situation, and that's what we want to avoid. And we hope that we can do that with a few of those tips here today. And it's a relatively short and concise show, but I think it's important to put in perspective. And I want you to make sure you understand that you should see a qualified bankruptcy attorney if you're considering it. There may be ways to avoid bankruptcy. There may be things you can do that gives you a new life's blood. You can maybe try a new marketing plan. You can maybe delve into some savings and try to get someone to coach you or help you and steer the business forward in the right direction. Half the battle, I think, is making that decision, and give it your best shot, because bankruptcy is not a be all and end all. It's not. It's something that you use as a last resort, but that you should be aware of. And why? Because being aware of the fact that you need a business entity ties in hand with the potential bankruptcy, and why bankruptcy is less devastating to you if you have to go through it and you have a business entity at the same time.
Yeah, think of this as preventive maintenance for your business. It's like, every 5,000 miles you change the oil in your car.
That's right.
You
That's right.
Rotate your tires, change the wipers. Here in Southern California, you probably don't have to change your wipers that often, but it is preventive maintenance, and we do the same thing here with business. That's what Bill promotes, is preventive maintenance, not only when you're in business, but when you're starting business.
Yeah.
Our last episode, we talked about a smart business 101 tips, right?
Yep.
So if you are first starting out, take heed of this information, because it'll put you in the right protective space for your business. So should you run into a situation like this, you have a little bit of peace of mind knowing that there is a dome over your business that helps protect your personal assets.
And listen to your counselors that are on your team. Have a team to begin with, and then listen to the people who counsel, your marketing guy, your accountant, your lawyer, because I can tell you, I've had clients in the past that I've told to do X, Y, and Z, and they did A, B, and C. And when they pay me, their money is the same color, but it doesn't give me any great satisfaction to take it. if they choose not to listen to what you recommend, and there's a lot of reasons for that, it's not not from a legal perspective, but from their own decision-making process, because they hire a lawyer or because they hire an accountant or because they hire a marketing person doesn't mean that they're going to listen to that person. You have to have the mindset to be willing to accept advice and not think of yourself as someone who's got some major problem that requires some psychological counseling. That's not the case. This is a business. A lot of things are out of your control, but if you have the right people on your team, you're going to get through it and you're going to survive. So I urge you to contact any of us if you need our help. Remember, Rick and I and Steve Smith, our other co-host, were available to speak to by phone if you'd like to. I typically don't charge for a half an hour consultation off the top if there's somebody who wants to contact me and speak to me about an issue that's on their mind. Remember, it's not attorney-client relationship. It's a means of exploring an issue in general that might be able to convince you that you need help. And if you do need that help and you decide you want to get professional help, you can come in and we can establish that kind of a relationship and move forward from there. And I'm sure the same is true for Steve and Rick. So with that, Rick, I hope this show has been helpful for our listeners and our viewers to some extent, and I hope they never have to utilize the tips because I hope they all get business entities.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, every time you speak on legal topics, I learn a little bit more every day. So thank you very much for the information. Thanks for the great episode. Reach out to Bill on his website at wfblegalconsulting.com. All of his contact information is there. And if you have any need for marketing information, you can also reach me at captivate365.com. And my contact information is on the site as well. So,
and by the way, that's Captivate 365 LLC.
Right.
Because Rick is an LLC, and he's proud of it. His business has been restructured from the last business he had, and I think everybody can get a gander at what Rick does by looking at his new website. You'll see some great work there. You can go to my site to see videos that he's actually done, but I'm sure Rick's site is progressing forward and providing all new stuff that you can take a look at. So please go there and take a look at that. And Steve Smith at growthsourcecoaching.com as well. And until next time, I hope everybody has a prosperous, safe week and can enjoy the upcoming weekend and the great weather we're having now that spring is upon us.
Absolutely. Well, thanks for joining us again, folks. We'll see you next week, 10 a.m. On Tuesday here on the Bottled Business Sense Show. Take care, everyone.
Bye-bye now.